Hello, everyone. Welcome to Speak of the Devil with Damien DeVille. I'm your host, Damien, and today we're talking with Jason Gertner. Jason is a game developer of self-made Shattered Journal games. He's programmed and designed numerous games so far, including 3 on mobile devices. He says he's got much more coming in the future for mobile and PC. And Speak of the Devil, here he is now. Jason, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
So, being a game developer, that's fascinating to me, because I love video games.
Thank you.
Can you tell me a little bit about some of the games you've released and how you made them?
I can. All right. So I've made a lot of games, and I've released, I'd say, 8. But the thing is, I'd say more than half of them were made during game jams, where I'd make a game in a limited time, sometimes 24 hours, sometimes 48 hours, one time 6 hours. But the some of the others were released on mobile, and I put a little more time into it, and I kind of polished them up, and I released them.
I've actually participated in a game jam myself, but we focused more on tabletop games.
Ah, nice.
So can you tell me what the experience of working at a game jam was like?
It's very. It can range from frustrating to very fun.
How so?
So, well, my first game jam was like before I even knew what a game jam was. It was like a hackathon where you didn't have to make games. You could make anything technology based, but you could make games. So that's why I went. And my team was not up to the task, and I just kind of brought them in because they were my friends and they were like the first people I could think of to go with. And so most of the time was me for 24 hours, just kind of grinding through, six Coke cans next to my desk, and just grinding through trying to finish the game. And they were helpful at a good amount of times, but if I was more prepared, I would have chosen a better team, not biased out of friends.
That's understandable. Can you tell me about which game that you've made do you think is the one you're most proud of?
So far, it would be Cloud Bashers for Android, iOS, and PC.
Can you tell me a little bit about Cloud Bashers?
Uh, like the gameplay or how I made it.
Just go ahead and plug away. Give me the sell.
Alright, so Cloud Bashers is a mobile game. It is on PC, but it's more for mobile. It's $1, but there is a free version called Cloud Bashers Lite. So Cloud Bashers Lite has 5 worlds, and what you do in them is you bash clouds, and every time you bash a cloud, if you do it correctly, you get a point. And you have the white clouds and the storm clouds, and there's 2 buttons: the white cloud bash and the storm cloud bash, and you kind of have to match it. And if you do it incorrectly, you lose health. And there's so that's how it starts out. It starts out real slow, and then it'll introduce like a rain cloud, and the rain cloud has different effects depending on how you hit it. So by then you have 3 different cloud types. You're getting points, and then there's a boss. The first boss is Kite Kyle, and if you beat the first boss, you get the second level, and then it just kind of goes there, where it'll start off with the main 2 clouds, introduce a different cloud type, and then boss, and then in the later 5 worlds on the $1 version, uh, it'll start bringing back old cloud types. Like World 6 will have the rain clouds again, but then it'll introduce like the mech clouds.
Very cool. How long does it take to beat, do you think?
The whole game, I'd say, I don't know, like every level is about 2.5 to 3 minutes, and then but like in later levels you'll start having difficulty. So I'd say like if you played it just straight through, maybe 2 to 3. Obviously, like if you're a master and you knew how to do everything, it'd take you less than an hour to do everything.
Very nice. Now I'd like to go back to the game jams that you were talking about. Have
Yeah.
have any of the games that you made at the game jams ended up being ones that you later released?
Yes, those are the other 2 mobile games I made.
Can you tell me a little bit about those?
All right, so Burning Wood, this was the first mobile game, and it was really funny because the game jam time limit was like a week or 2 weeks, and I waited until like 10 p.m. the night before it was due, and I had to come up with the game idea on the spot, and I just tried to think of the simplest thing I could, and it was just fire. burns wood, and that's what I made. So you just play as a fire, wood falls, and you have to burn it. Water will fall, you gotta dodge it. If you miss wood, then you lose a health and just get a high score. And it had online leaderboards, so you could get better scores than other people.
Nice. What have been some of your inspirations when making games?
That's a tough one, because there's definitely a ton. I don't know if I'm inspired by this game, but it's definitely the game I play the most, called Rivals of Aether. And that game's just kind of like Smash Bros, but it's on Steam, and it has different characters, different mechanics, and has a ranked leaderboard. And I love when games have ranked leaderboards because I can know how good I am.
So you're a real competitive type then?
Yeah, that's why in all my mobile games there's an arcade mode, so you can see just how good you are.
Very nice, very nice. Can you tell me about some of your upcoming games? Or are those hush-hush?
No, I have it on my Twitters. I can like screenshot Saturdays and all that, so I can definitely talk about those.
Okay.
So, the next game that I want to come out is called Magnetic Terrain. It's actually on like my game page because I made it in a game jam like back in August, but I've been working on it for quite a while, just like making it way better than like a weekend game or like an actual game. And so this game, pretty simple. You have one screen. Have you ever played Call of Duty Zombies?
I have.
Alright, so it's kind of like that, where you have a limited amount of space to room, and just zombies and stuff. Well, in this case, it'll be more like ghosts and flying teeth and an archer. Just like a lot of wacky stuff. No real theme to it, just like as wacky as it can be. And you have to survive certain waves. Like the first wave will be 3 enemies, and if you survive that, you go to wave 2, 6 enemies. Right now, it's just a multiplier of 3, and you just have to keep surviving the waves and get the furthest you can.
All right. Are you making these games as your full-time job, or is this a side hobby?
Well, right now I'm a student, college student, so I can't really call it a job because I've made no like income to brag about.
All right.
I would like to make it my job in the future.
Have any of your games gotten any kind of awards or acclaim or anything like that?
Uh, no, they have not.
That's all right. That just means That just means you haven't been noticed yet, right?
Yeah. Oh, can I say one other thing about Magnetic Terrain?
Go ahead.
Yeah, the reason it's called Magnetic Terrain is you start on this one piece of terrain where you can't move, and you have to use your magnet to summon new terrain, and it's magnetic, so it goes right towards wherever you are, and now you have more place to room. So you have to keep using your magnet, but then obviously like enemies will destroy it, and you just have to keep just trying building it strategically so you have more place to move.
All right, so it's kind of like a balancing act, keeping all the plates spinning sort of thing, but with
Yeah,
magnets instead.
yeah, but you also have to like make sure enemies don't get you while you're trying to do that.
All right. Now, you mentioned when you're working on the game jam that sometimes working with other people doesn't always go super great. Can you tell me about what it's like working in a team?
Uh, well, I'd say the more recent game jams were much more fun in a team. Like I knew, like once I hear about the game jam and I know I want to do it, I'm a designer and programmer, so the first thing I think of is like, all right, if I'm gonna do this game jam, I need an artist and I need someone who can do music. So I like now I know a good group of people that I can try and reach out to at times for that. But like I think college has actually been really helpful for that. Just like there's a ton of people you can try and collaborate with, and I'm always looking for new people to collab with. But
Yeah, that's what they say about college, making connections, man.
yeah. But when I was in high school, it was much harder to find people to try and collaborate with. I think the only game jam I did back in high school, I did two. The first one where it didn't go so well because I didn't have the right group, and the Burning Wood. And that one, when I first released it, it had like MS Paint graphics that I drew myself, and
Yeah.
I later got someone to redo them so I could actually release it.
Burning Wood 2.0.
Yeah. However, I did make it so if you get like 10,000 points, you unlock the final like skin for the fire, and that fire is the original fire I drew.
So, have you... tell me about the first game you ever made.
Released or just in general?
No, tell me about your Secret Shame, that game that you made that no one can ever
Oh,
see.
I can tell you about my Secret Shame. This isn't the first game I made, but it's like the first big project where I was like, I'm gonna try and make like an actual game, not just like dummy test stuff. It was called Super Awesome Bros.
All right, I think I may notice what you're going for there.
Yeah, so I was trying to make a Smash Bros. Clone, but so my characters were much different. I had 6 characters. I remember I had Yoshi as start because like I was going on Spriter's resource, just trying to find what kind of sprites I could rip for the game, and I found Yoshi fighting sprites. I was like, all right, that'll be my first character, and then I needed to test for like 2-player mode, but I didn't want to just reuse Yoshi, so I made a new character named Afyo, and he was just a red Yoshi with an afro.
Nice.
And then my third character was Kick-Ass Penguin, an original creation of mine, and I'm probably going to use him for a game like I have a game I'm working on with him, much bigger, and will not be released for a while, but in this case, he was just a penguin who could like fire missiles and grenades and stuff. And my fourth character was also original creation, well, kind of original. His name was Bill, and he was supposed to be like, like the bullet bills in Super Mario.
Okay, yeah.
So he was supposed to be like a humanoid version with like a blaster on his face, so he could like shoot bullet bills and stuff.
Gunface.
Yeah, yeah, basically. And then the other 2 was just Paper Mario and one of the ninja Koopas from Paper Mario, like the first boss.
Okay. And it was just like a straight Smash Bros. Clone where they fight.
Yeah, Smash Bros. Clone is very flattering. It was a mess. Like there'd be just like you punch, and then like the punch animation would keep going until you moved. There'd be a lot of exploits where projectiles were just way better because there was no blocking. I believe if you fell off the screen, you were just done for. I don't think I made it so you respawned. And yeah, it was. And you had like 4 moves, and like Yoshi had like a punch and a headbutt, but they were basically the same thing. One did less damage, but there's no point in using that.
Nice. So I take it you're a big Smash Bros. Fan?
Yeah. I guess now we know what the inspiration for my games are.
So I think that ties back into what I asked earlier about what your game inspirations are.
Yeah, Smash Bros. Is definitely a big one. I haven't made a platform. That was like, I made another platform fighter after that, which was a bit more like refined, but it wasn't very good. And I definitely want to do one like that in the future. I'd say other inspirations are like weirder games, like more like ones that people don't know about as much.
Oh, well, I like weird games, so hit me. I might have heard of them.
Do you know Psychonauts?
I do know Psychonauts.
Yeah, a lot of people know about it now. It used to be like best game no one's heard of, but now everyone knows about it. It's awesome.
Man, I had it on the original PS2 version, and
oh, nice.
I played that thing so much. I actually just last year I think I went back and replayed it again because it still holds up.
Nice. Yeah, I got it on Steam. It was like $1 on sale.
I'm a little bit miffed because the in-betweequel between Psychonauts 1 and 2 is just for VR.
Yeah, I was upset too. I was like, I can't
and it's
afford
like,
PSVR.
I'm not going to spend $400 just to play the in-betweequel Psychonauts game.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit worried because, whenever there's so long a period of time between one game and the next, there's always the chance that the sequel's not going to be as good, but I'm crossing my fingers Psychonauts 2 is going to be all right.
Yeah, I hope so.
What other
let's see.
What other weird games?
Oh, there's this one called 20XX.
I don't know that one. Tell me about it.
So, it's just like Mega Man X, but it's roguelike, and it's randomly generated. So, you go into a level, and then when you die, you have to start all over.
All right.
But it's much more generous with like health and stuff, and the bosses are always the boss and stages, the bosses are always the same, but they appear differently, and the stages are randomly generated, so whenever you go in, it's a new stage. I'd say it's pretty recent, like within 3 years. They're still updating it. There's also 2 players, so you can play with a friend, and that's always cool. I've never actually beaten it, I have to say, but I play it a good amount every now and then.
I tell you what I think one of my favorite old games is, if you'll allow me to go on for a minute.
No problem.
One of my number one games of all time, Okami.
Especially, ooh, I've never gotten to Okami. I own it on Wii, but I never got to play it.
Every couple of years I go back and replay it, and it is just so beautiful. I love the gameplay. It's one of those games where there's just so much to do, and you just like to run around in the world and just do the little side quests and just...
Yeah, I've seen the art style. It looks very nice.
I love it. I love that paintbrush art style. I wish more games took advantage of that.
Did you see Okami HD came out recently on Steam?
I did see that it's on Steam, but I still have it on the console version, so I don't need to buy it again.
Oh, okay.
Although maybe I will, because I love it so much.
I actually just remembered like a huge inspiration. I can't believe I didn't think of this one. It's Nuclear Throne, and that game is it's also a roguelike, but it's top-down shooter, and you can choose a character, and they all have like, so you aim with mouse, but right click will usually be a special move. So like the main character Fish can use a roll, and then the next character Crystal has a little shield that reflects bullets. And whenever you get a new level, you get a new upgrade, and there's tons of different areas, and that's a huge inspiration for Magnetic Terrain.
Very cool. I'm familiar with Nuclear Throne, but I've never actually played it.
Yeah, it took me forever to beat it. I think I played it for 60 hours before I actually beat it, and it was a very good moment.
So going back to talking about being a game developer, what's it like to actually release a game as a solo developer?
So whenever I release a Game Jam game, it's nothing special. I just say, hey, I made a Game Jam game. Here it is. On like my Twitter. By the way, my Twitter @Jasoon Margoon.
All right. And we can include a link in the description too, probably.
Oh, thank you.
Just shoot me a reminder later.
Got you. So yeah, usually I'll just say on my Twitter, hey, made a Game Jam game, and I use the usual hashtag so people can find it easier. But my 3 main games, when I released them, so when I released Burning Wood, that was when I was still in high school, so it was a bit easier to actually tell people that it was a thing, and it was kind of cool, because like, people were playing it at my school, and they didn't know I made it, and it was just like a thing going around, and I thought it was really cool.
Very nice.
And
I've wondered before if I've met people who have seen the Hell Universe but don't know I've made it.
Oh, that'd be cool. You just
I haven't met one in the wild yet, but I keep thinking like, oh man, one of these days it's gonna happen, and it's gonna be like, I'm that guy.
Yeah, I've only had a few moments I could do that. I did pull that one a couple times at my college. It's a bit harder to get information around at a college, but one time I did bring up that I made my second game, Cloud Bashers, and they're like, "Oh, you're that guy that's been putting the flyers around."
Nice.
Yeah.
So can you walk me through the steps of actually getting a game published?
All right. So for me, what I do is like I'll make a game, and the scope of time can be very different. Like Burning Wood, took like the first iteration only took 2 hours to make, but then I had to actually fine tune everything, and that took like a month. And then you have to have the Android. You have to have the Android thing where you can actually release on their stores. That's only like $25 flat fee.
Okay.
And for iOS though, you have to pay $100 yearly to put games on.
Ooh.
And it was funny because I got it around last year, so a couple days ago I had to renew it, and it was very painful to do that because I didn't make 100 back.
Well, you gotta suffer for your art.
Yeah. So you have to have those, obviously, if you're going to release on mobile. And then you just put in the file for your game. For Android, it's pretty straightforward. Just put in the APK file, and they'll approve it. Like fill out the form where they give a rating for it. And usually the only thing I have to say is it has cartoon violence or something. And then they release it. And two of my games, Burning Wood, Kyle Swords, and also Cloud Bashers Light, those are free with ads, so it's a bit easier to just put it as free, and there you go. And then more people will get it, obviously, then.
So do you do most of your promotion on Twitter, or do you... I think you said putting up flyers at your college. Has that gotten you any clicks?
A little bit, but not definitely nothing like big. I think it's more important just like since I'm like just well I'm definitely not just starting. I've been making games for a while, but I'm still like very young to be making games, so I think it's important just to have something. Like if I was trying to get a job or I was trying to show someone that I am a game developer, it's important to have something there.
That actually leads into my next question. Are you going to try to pursue game making professionally once you get out of college?
I would like to. I'd like to have like my own indie company, like Shattered Journal Games, like an actual thing, not just like a name that I publish under.
All right.
And I'd like to be just a thing where it's me and like some people I know that are good at what they do, and we just make games. And the first step is just having like that one big game that you just get a ton of like hits and everyone now knows who you are, and then we're just free to make other games.
So if you could pick any one studio that's currently working right now, who would you want to work for?
That's a tough one because like if you work for someone else, you have way less freedom. Like a lot of people want to work at Nintendo, but it's like they're probably not going to let you do your own thing. They have their own agenda. They have their own things they have to do at a certain time and place. And like if you work for someone else, you don't have a lot of creative freedom unless you like put in the time and years when they might put you at a position that might give you some creative freedom. But even then, there'll probably be someone above you that'll have control over your product.
Yeah, I've heard Disney's really bad about that. Like one example I've heard is that Minnie, whenever someone draws Minnie, she has to have exactly 3 eyelashes, no more, no less.
Interesting, I didn't know that.
So they're very exacting with their IPs over at Disney, from what I understand.
Yeah, I heard something about like in Wreck-It Ralph, Nintendo let Bowser be in it, and they said Bowser like he was drinking like I think a cup of tea, and they said Bowser has to hold his tea in this position.
That sounds about right. Yeah. So I don't think we got the answer though. Which studio, if you had to pick, do you think you'd want to work for?
I don't know. I'd say if I just had to pick at the top of my head, maybe Yacht Club Games, the maker of Shovel Knight.
Okay, my brother's really into Shovel Knight.
Yeah, because like I'm guessing they're a pretty small studio, but they have like a ton. They've been getting a ton of revenue from their games and like their DLC and
Shovel Knight has been very popular.
Yeah, and if like I feel like they have to be making a new game, so like being there, you'd probably have a lot of creative freedom, just like what you can do and stuff.
So I'm going to ask you this question, and just let your imagination goes wild. Money's
Okay.
no object. You can make whatever kind of game you want. What's your dream game project?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Oh, you know what? It'd be There's 2 games that I'm very fond of that I'd love spiritual successors to, and I'd love to be the one to make them.
Hit me.
All right. So there's a game called Gotcha Force for GameCube,
Yeah.
and you get to play as like these little toys, and like obviously like you zoom in so they're much bigger, and then the stage is kind of like a desk that you have to fly up to and climb on, and you have to battle other like toys. They're called like I think like Borgs or something.
All right.
But you have to fight all, and you have a very limited move set. Like you can jump. Some characters have a double jump. Some characters have hover or jetpack, and then you'll have like B as an attack and X as a different attack. And every character will have different attacks, like shoot something, shoot a giant blast that you have to charge up, do a melee, and it was a really cool concept, and there are tons of different Borgs you could play as, and you'd have to build like a G-Force. No, not G-Force. No, maybe it was G-Force. You have to build a force of these Borgs, and they'd be on your team, and usually there'd be a limit of how much power each Borg had, so you couldn't have like the best ones on your team. You'd have to have some weaker ones. You'd have and like some medium power ones, because if you had too many powerful ones, you'd have less Borgs on your team.
And what you said there was 2 games that you'd want to do spiritual successors to. What was the second one?
Yeah. So the other game was Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles.
You know, I remember seeing that all over the place when I was growing up, but I never actually played it. Tell me about it.
Alright, so it was a GameCube game, and you play with Game Boy Advances plugged into the, like with the adapter thing that you plug into your GameCube.
Yeah, that was big back in the day.
Yeah, and what you could do is you'd play with that, and on your screen would be something different. So, like, if you had 4 people, one person would have the map, one person would have where all the treasure is, one person would have, like, I think details of the enemy, and another person would have where all the enemies are. So everyone has to coordinate, like, where everything is and where to go. When you go in, everyone has a different job, because at the end of the level, whoever had the most points, which was dictated by like, who did their job best, who attacked the most, and like took less damage, they would get first pick at the loot, because you could only take one thing each. And the jobs would be different, like you can only attack using magic, you can only you have to collect coins, or you have to collect food. And it was really cool, because like it made every time you play different, and I just think it was a really cool system.
You know, that kind of reminds me of that Star Trek VR game where everyone has like a different position on the bridge.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
So you said that you wanted to do a spiritual successor to that game, though. How would you do the spiritual successor to Crystal Chronicles?
So I probably wouldn't use the Game Boy Advance screens, just because you just have to, everyone would have to buy some kind of device, and I feel like that'd be a little too much. I would still do the jobs, though, like each person gets a different job, and I liked how they did like the casting. Like if you do a melee, you just attack what's in front of you. But if you did magic, you charge a little, and then you have a little cursor you can move around to where it's going. And if it overlapped with someone else's magic at the right time, it'd do a special magic move. So I'd keep a lot of that if I could. I'd add more races and in classes. That game only had 4 races. I think it was Clavet, Selkie, Yook, and Lilty, I think they were all called. I'd probably add more. And more. I don't think there weren't really classes. Anyone could just do anything. So I think I might add some classes just to give variety and more of like. Because like I'm gonna be the magic user, or I'm gonna be the healer or something, and maybe put a little more emphasis on healing. Because in that game, like there was just there were 3 spells for curing, like heal, life, and I think it was clear to get rid of status effect. And I'd probably do a little more focus on that kind of, just so like it'd be more fun to play as the support. More tanking options. There wasn't really a lot of tanky options to get like more defense.
So basically, just expand the game in general.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't like get rid of, other than like the screens, because that'd be a little hard to implement. I probably wouldn't get rid of any key feature.
All right. So before we go, let's talk one more time about some of your lesser-known favorite games. I think we touched on that a little bit earlier, but there's got to be some more that you can clue us into.
Let's see. So I said 20XX, Nuclear Throne, Rivals of Aether, Smash Bros. Oh, there's another lesser-known game called Spark the Electric Jester.
That sounds vaguely familiar. Tell me about it.
So this game is like Sonic plus Kirby plus Mega Man X. So it plays like a Sonic game, but you can like dash and wall jump, and you get powers, and you don't like absorb them like in Kirby. You just kind of find them. And
right.
you can keep 2 at once, and they completely change how you play. So like you can get the fire one, and now you're much more powerful, but you're a little slower in these cool fire effects. My favorite one I think was the gravity one, where you're slower, but you can just basically fly. Uh, Air was pretty cool because you had infinite jumps, and there was just a lot of like, it was just really fun and really cool.
That does sound pretty cool. What system was it for?
It was on Steam.
All right, well, I think that's all the time we have for today. Thanks again, Jason, for coming on.
No prob.
And everyone out there listening, if you would like to be a member of Speak of the Devil, you can get onto our Discord. I'll put a link in the description. We're doing a show for the community, by the community, so if your audio is good, shoot me a PM on the Discord and we can talk about what you want to talk about. This is Damien DeVille saying, can't wait to hear from you.